Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another live stream this morning. I'm very happy to say good morning to you once more. Thank you very much for joining me and for joining us. It's not just me here in the live stream, it is a whole bunch of us, which I'm very, very grateful for. So thank you very much if you're joining me again this morning. We're here every day from 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. South African Central or South African Standard Time, rather. We don't have a Central Time, unless you're in the Free State. That can be seen as Central Time, where I'm from originally. So yeah, welcome. I'm very happy to have you all here. I hope you've got a nice, fresh cup or mug of coffee. You know, some people do cups, and then some people do mugs. So I hope you have whatever your choice is that you've got it this morning. I look forward to what we've got to discuss today, and I can't wait to get into that. And good morning, Kobus. Thank you very much for joining me over on LinkedIn. So good morning, LinkedIn. Good morning, YouTube. We're live on both platforms simultaneously, and that is really, really great. So yeah, let's move on. This morning, you hear that I started with a bit of music. That is actually the theme song, or I don't know what you call it, but that is the same music that we use for propulsion. And it is something that, you know, the process that I went through to sort of find the right music for the podcast, it was quite a journey, because I literally went through thousands and thousands and thousands of songs. And what I did was I sort of starred them so I could go back, and at the end there was something like 8 or 10 songs that was there. Then I listened to them over and over and over again, and eventually whittled it down to this one. And this is something that I don't see that I'll ever change it. It's just something that, you know, that whole way it started, the piano, everything just sort of connected with my heart. And so that is our song, or it's our music rather, paid for music nogal. So yeah, it's interesting. Good morning. I see there's some people watching over on YouTube as well. Please say hi in the comments. Give this video a like. It helps us to get other people to see it. And over on LinkedIn, there's also a number of people watching live. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I hope that today's session will add some value or just give you something to think about, because the thing is, I don't have all the answers. I, for one, am in unknown times. I've never had to deal with something of this magnitude, to be honest. So I'm definitely not trying to portray that I have all the answers and this. But the one thing that I've learned over the last few years, luckily I'm so blessed that I have learned that, is that, you know what, you can either go sit in a corner and be stressed and just you are so overtaken by that fear, you know, of the unknown and what's going to happen and what is the worst thing that can happen to me, and, you know, what if this comes through, and then you do nothing, and then that you just up the chances of that thing happening to you. The other thing that I learned over the years is that, you know, I don't have control over everything, and that was a big thing. And then the third big thing, I think that for me personally that I learned, and that could possibly be great for you as well, is that, you know, your mindset determines everything. How you view the world, and that's a choice. How you choose to view the world, how you choose to react, you know, and how things like this is teaching us to be more proactive than being reactive. I spoke about this in one of the previous episodes as well. We have a choice. Are we reacting to everything that's happening around us, or are we taking a stand and starting to be proactive in how we respond to all of this? So that is really important that we do it from that point of view. Good morning, Neil Strydom. Welcome back. Thank you very much for saying hi. I appreciate it. So if you're on, please say hi in the chat, because otherwise I don't know who's here and who I need to say hello to. If you're over on YouTube, you can post in the chat, and I'll be able, if you're asking me a question there, or you want to make some comments or add to the conversation, please do. I want this, as difficult as it may be, to be a conversation, not just a one-way monologue where I sit here and talk all the time. So you can participate by posting your comments, your thoughts, your views, or asking questions in the comments or in the chat area on the different platforms. So please do that. If you do that on YouTube, as I said, I'm able to bring it up on the screen. So again, today, I have about 7 points that I would like to talk about. And you'll see, now, by the way, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but I've been using this mug so much that now it's starting to come off. I'm so sad. Anyway, so yeah, let's start and talk about some of the things. Good morning. Let me see. Lofi, thank you very much for being here. Renee, thank you very much for being here and for saying hi over in on LinkedIn. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Welcome here. Renee, welcome back. You've been here before. Lofi, it's the first time I've seen you in the chat, so I don't know if you've been here before, but if you were, thank you very much for coming back. If it's your first time, welcome. This is the Crazy Bunch. This is where we talk everything, that sort of is pertinent to how we run practices and businesses, and we just what we're going through and sort of plans and frameworks and things that we can use in order to get ahead. So yeah, let me start. Let me just get all my things out the way here. I'm not the most neat person in the world. I try and organize things, and then it feels to me like it's organized, but it's not really. So my very first point that I would like to make, and there's a few questions I want to ask you through the time, and then there's some things that people are offering to help financial advisors with. So I'll be sharing that with you throughout. So please stay, don't miss that. There's some great stuff that you need to know about. But let me get into the points. I guess one of the first things is, do you panic or don't you panic? Is it okay to panic or is it not okay to panic? And I can only talk for myself. I can't talk for anybody else because everybody's circumstances are really unique. If it's never been more true than at this point in time. But when I woke up that Monday morning after the first announcement about what they're going to do, I was like, and this was before the announcement of the lockdown. It was just that very first speech that the president gave. And I just think since the very first time I heard about what was going on, we already said that we're going to stay at home as much. We're going to play game, whatever is happening. That's what we're going to do, because I could see immediately where this thing could go, specifically in a country like South Africa. And I was just like, for the first time ever, usually I'm not really faced by things happening, because it's far away and it's not, but I don't know, for some reason, this time around, I feel completely different. But that Monday morning after that thing, I woke up in a state of panic. I think I cried a couple of times that day. And it's just, it's so overwhelming. And it is so like, oh, crap, what am I going to do? How is this going? And the whole reason why we feel like that, why we become so fearful, is just because we don't know what's going to happen. Have you ever realized, like, if you're in a state of fear and you find out what's going to happen, the fear immediately goes away. So it's this uncertainty that makes us feel fearful and just feeling afraid and worried and all of those things. If you've got big children like me, then when they go out, you lie awake until they get back, because you don't know what's going on. You don't know exactly their every move, although you know where they are, sort of. But it's the same thing. So until they're back home safe, you worry. You can't help it. It's just human. It's natural. You can't do anything about it. But I think that's the first thing for me in terms of, do you panic or don't you panic? And it's completely fine, I think, to panic. It is absolutely fine to panic. As I said, it's perfectly normal. The thing that we shouldn't do is get stuck there, though, because if you get stuck in that state of panic, then you're in for a tough ride, and then you're just compounding the problem. But it's like when you feel sad, feel sad. When you feel worried, feel worried. You have to go through those emotions. You can't just block them out, because that's also a problem. If you're going to build a wall around yourself, then you're in for some big issues maybe down the road. Because I've done that as well. You try and block off all the bad stuff, because why? We don't want to deal with it. So when things happen to you, it doesn't matter what it is. There's people going through some really, really tough things at the moment, dealing with the loss of loved ones, they go through the loss of their business, they go through the loss of their job. So there's people that have things on their plate that's just a lot more serious than what some of us are at this point going through. But it's not to say we won't go through that as well. So one would need to understand. And I think that the first step in all of this, if you do get into this state of panic, is to try and quiet your mind, because a lot of the fuel on this fire is the stuff that you're telling yourself, the stuff that your mind is saying, that second, third, fourth, fifth, or that whole bunch of people talking to you in your head, telling you how stuff and everything is, you're not going to survive this, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do. No, quiet your mind. So if you can quiet your mind, things will get a lot better. That is the first thing, because you cannot think straight unless you've got a quiet mind. All right. Then the second thing, and you're welcome as I go through, if you've got certain points that you want to raise in that point, how are you feeling? If you don't want to put it here for everybody to see and for me to mention, then you're welcome to send me a WhatsApp as well, please. Don't hold back. You're welcome to talk to me. I've had a number of calls yesterday of people phoning me, telling me what they're worried about, etc. And you're more than welcome to do that. Alrighty, so the next point on the list is, once you've quieted your mind and you can sort of try and start to think clearly, just sit down and identify, just write down, literally. There's something very magical. I said that in another session yesterday, that there's something very, very magical about taking a pen and paper, or a pencil even. A pencil is even nicer because a pencil flows better on the page. But writing stuff down, it's like things comes, there's a connection between you and the paper. There's a connection between your thoughts and the paper. So when you start writing, things just start to flow. I mean, I've tried to do things directly on my computer. And then I would sit here and I look at the screen and I look at the slide, or I look at the document and I don't know what I want to say. I don't know where to start. But you take a piece of paper and you start writing, it just keeps on coming because there's nothing interrupting. When you're typing, sometimes you have to look where the keys are and those kind of things. So writing on a piece of paper or in a book is really a great way of doing that. But anyway, the point I want to make is that you've got to identify, what you cannot control, so you can see it. There's nothing that you can do about the things that you're writing down in or on that piece of paper or in that book. There is absolutely nothing. Or if you want to type it on your phone, do it on wherever you want. But there's nothing that you can do about the things that you write down when you cannot control them. So just, accept that and let's move on. Some of the things that I'm thinking about, like in the financial advisor space at the moment, I'm just thinking about a couple of things. I mean, it's not really a lot of stuff, but some of the things, and you can tell me, what are the things that you think that in your space you cannot control? But for me, how long this lockdown is going to be. I see there's people that's preparing for longer periods of lockdown, which I think is a clever way to go about it, because you would, as I said yesterday, you would rather have a plan and not need it than need it and not have a plan. So if you set your expectations correctly, and that's all that is about, it's like, let's say this is going to be how many ever days that lockdown is going to last, then that's what you expect. If it lasts shorter, it's fantastic. It's like being free. So that's one thing to go about. So that's definitely one thing. And then the other big thing that we do not have control over, and it takes a lot of energy from us in order to engage with clients and to talk to clients and to try and influence their decisions. But if you really think about it, at the end of the day, you have absolutely no control over the decisions that your clients make. And this is also often, I think about a marriage. So often, people get divorced, and then you listen to the stories and you realize that it always comes down to one thing, and that's communication, or a lack of communication. And at the end of the day is that you have no control over the other person, because what usually happens in a situation like that, and I've been through that, so I can sort of sit here and talk with a little bit of authority. What happens in that situation is that The one person is trying to point out the things of the other person that's irritating them, or that they don't like, or that's hurting them, or whatever that thing is. And so the other person is trying to explain to this person exactly the same thing. And nobody's listening, and everybody's taking it personal and saying that, oh, no, I can't do, it's always me. Yes, the fault is with me. But the thing that you don't realize in that situation, the same as what we're sitting with now, is that you cannot influence the other people or the other person, your spouse's behavior. You cannot influence them to change the way they do things. The only thing you can do is change the way that you do things. So you can choose to listen to what they're saying and saying, okay, is it true or is it not true? But usually we don't want to go there, because that means that we're at fault. But usually if you're the one that can change what you do and how you react, it automatically influences the other person. And that's the thing. We need to realize that we can only control ourselves. There's nothing else in this world that we can really control. What we do, what we behave, how we behave, what we say, what we do, it's up to us. Nobody else can make us do anything. So the same with client decisions. You can talk to them, you can hold their hand, you can give them all the information, but at the end of the day, the client's going to do what the client's going to do, because this is about, on the one hand, self-preservation, and on the other hand, maybe just because of fear. So people are going to behave differently. So it's tough times at the moment. I absolutely realized that after the conversations I had yesterday. I totally get that. And, I think even worse so, and we'll get to some of the points, but, depending on where you are in your life, this can be a biggest thing, for you in compared to others. Then also the market. So, market events like Moody's, that was in a mood. So when they downgraded us, we don't have control over that. But what we do is we sit on our armchairs and we say, yeah, but government should have done this and this and this. And why didn't they do that? It's their fault. They knew this was coming. They don't do what they say they're going to do. At the end of the day, that event happened. We sat back and watched that happen. We didn't get involved. Again, we didn't do what we could do in most cases. So, yeah. And then also, obviously, then as a result of that, the movements in the market, all we've got to cling on to is the principles of, how does investment work, and what happens when things go down. What goes down must go up as well. It's not what goes up must come down always. It works both ways, and it always does. It's just a matter of what happens from now until it starts to go back up, and when it reaches that level. So, yeah, for some people, this is really serious. And other people are going to make obscene amounts of money because they were ready for this opportunity when they got to buy the house. Instead of at 3 million, they got to buy it at 500,000, and then it goes back to its real value. So that's the thing. Let me hop on over to LinkedIn quickly. Sureta, good morning. Neil Phillips, welcome back, Neil. Nice to have you again. Slanganani, welcome back. Neil says, Neil Phillips, very true. We all crave certainty, and when this is taken away, panic steps in. Yep, it's human, eh? This is our crucial role as advisors during this time. We must try and give clients a little bit of certainty that markets will recover, this will end, things will get back to normal. So definitely, we need to be their voice of reason. When they get to that state where they really, panicky and don't know what to do, and they just like we need to be that person that can sort of be the voice of reason, the calm and collected, and just to remind them, because our minds are such a powerful thing. It goes off into whatever direction it wants to go into. So unless somebody tells you, but whoa, let's look at the things. This is what's happened, blah, blah, blah. So some clients will listen. Some clients, unfortunately, won't. But that is definitely our role. It's such an important thing. Good morning, Dirk. Welcome back. And then Quibus Klein says, as a family and business, I've set my expectations at 35 days. Yes, I saw that, Quibus. That's fantastic. And would be happy if it is only 21 days, but would be prepared if it is 35 days. Therefore, it would not be a demotivating problem. Yes, and this is the thing, guys. What I'm trying to say here is, focus on the things that we can control. And I don't know, I didn't speak about this the other day in the session when I spoke about the ideal clients, when we spoke about 21 things that you must focus on during this time. But no, I again lost my thought, my train of thought there. So yeah, when we were speaking about the ideal clients, it's, I don't know what I wanted to say. It was a brilliant thing that I needed to say. Oh, expectations. There we go. So expectations, when you need to understand the expectations of the client, and the client needs to understand your expectations. And expectations is what then results in either happiness or disappointment at the end of the day. And it's the same what Kobus is doing, and to saying, well, I'm preparing for 35 days. So I expect it to be longer, but if it's not, I'll be very happy. If it's longer, I may still be a little disappointed, but not as disappointed as if I was counting down the days to 21, because that's what I'm seeing a lot of people are doing. This is day one. This is day, and that's the reason why I changed the wording of this live stream, because the live stream said day one, day two, but we started like a week before lockdown already with this live show. And I changed it to episodes, because for me, I'm not trying to count the number of days or what's going on. It was just meant to say, well, this is day one of the live stream and day two of the live stream. So we changed that. But there are people literally counting down the days, or they're adding up the days, which is not I think, that great. Good morning, Almo. Nice to see you on the YouTubes. And I know it's YouTube. I'm just joking if I say the YouTubes. So almost saying, somebody once told me that if it's not on paper, it's like vapor. I like that. That's cool. Now I've learned a new saying. That's great. Yeah, thanks for that, Alma. I think that's a little bit of wisdom down in Cape Town. Thank you very much. Mark Dunbar says, I think like most people, we are concerned about the virus, but even more so about the repercussions of this pandemic on our economy and on us as individuals. Definitely, Mark. And this is what everybody's grappling with, because nobody's got answers. And that is the most difficult thing. So hopefully with some of the pointers I'm going to give as we go along, that may help. Mark also goes on to say, I read this brilliant saying, you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. Yes, that is, just think about that for a second. I'll give you a second. Just think about that. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. So this is about, you can't change the person, but you can change the people that you surround yourself with. It's very, very powerful. Often, if you want to make change, you need to change your environment. And a lot of people have been forced to obviously change their environment, in the sense that now we're working from home. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that as well in a future episode. Oh, and I need to announce today, by the way, who's going to be here tomorrow. So I'm very excited for tomorrow. I've got a guest on tomorrow, so that's going to be great. Ian, welcome, Ian McMaster. Ian says the realism we can have, but coupled to optimism, the better for us all. I definitely agree. And you'll see as I move through today's points that I think that is exactly the point that I'm trying to raise. So thank you for that, Ian. Definitely, we need optimism. If there's no hope, if there's no optimism, you're going to find it very, very hard to get through this. And I think even if you get through it, you're going to find it very hard to recover quickly, because you lack that hope and that optimism. And that's just how we've been built. I think as humans, we want to be optimistic. We want to be full of hope. We want to, do that kind of stuff. And it's just natural for that most of us would want that. But everybody should try and do that. Alrighty, so that is now point 2. So let's move on. So obviously, if now you've got a list of things that you know that you cannot control, then you must now go and have a look at what can you control. That's very important, because those are the things that we want to focus on at the end of the day. So if you need to change your whole trajectory of where you were headed, you did like weeks of planning or days of planning in December, and you have this fantastic plan and everything just started off well. It seemed like, whoa, we're getting traction, and then boom, this thing hit, and now some people are going to have to throw that plan out the window. Some people have got to just adapt a little bit, and some people can say, whoa, no, we didn't know this, but we're on the right path. Let's double down. I think there will be very few of those, but it's okay to restart. So what you identified that you should be focusing on during 2020, I can promise you it has drastically changed, most probably, for most financial advisors out there. I think what has a huge impact on that would be where you are, how long you've been in the game, how well you've built your practice, how many different income streams you have coming into your practice, But I always want to say my heart goes out to people who's been in this industry for less than 5 years, because it's going to be hard. Those people, typically start off with specific things that they focus on, and then over time they get comfortable with doing the things that's got more of a sure income stream and those kind of things, But it must be hard, and they must be frustrated, and I don't even know how I would feel if I was a financial advisor at this point in time who was sort of new. And this is why I really want to commend people like Kobus saying, you know what, if you've been in the business for less than 2 years, every Friday I'm scheduling time in my diary for us to have a Zoom conversation so I can help you and guide you and coach you and hold your hand and all that kind of stuff. So, if you know some younger advisors, I really want to encourage you to do exactly the same thing. I've opened, my availability to say to people, you know what, if you feel like you need to talk to somebody, please, you're more than welcome to phone me. I'm not going to tell people when you spoke to me or whatever you tell me or whatever you share with me, because often all we need is that someone just to listen. It's not to say I'll have answers for you. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. But we need to be there for people, and for being there for people, you're actually being there for yourself as well. So it's amazing how these things work. But anyway, so what are some of the things that we can control? In my opinion, the biggest thing that we can control, whether you believe it or not, is your mindset. If you can control your mindset, you can control everything. Your mind is such a powerful thing. And I learned this and that's why I say, if you start to panic, it's okay to panic, because it's almost like, if you had certain behaviors and certain things that you did, for years, you're not going to change that. It almost feels to me like my brain defaults to that place automatically. As soon as something unforeseen happens, boom, your mind goes there. And that's okay. Let it go. Let it go. Because if you force it to stay, you might break it. But you let it go. But then you are mindful. You must identify that now that's exactly what's happening. My mind is going to that place. I don't want to be there. I want to be over here. So what can I do in order to do that? And that's the thing that you can control, is your mindset. Because to be positive is a choice. People that are really negative, there's lots of reasons why they would be like that. But at the end of the day, it's because they choose not to be positive as well. It's almost like sometimes people have given up. People said, well, I fought, and now I've got nothing to show for it. So let me just whatever, this is a hopeless case. So you get that. And then obviously, those things can go as far as causing depression and all sorts of serious stuff. But at the end of the day, and it's easy for me to say that you must choose to be optimistic. You must choose to be positive. You must choose to look for the opportunities. You must focus on the things that you can. It's all a choice. And I can say that because I've been on both sides. Okay, you don't know me that well, but I've been on both sides. So I can sit here and say to you that, once you choose to take control of your mind, your life will change. Doesn't matter what happens, how you view it. And I'm going to get into some points now where I think things are really going to hit home. But yeah, so your mindset is definitely a big thing that you can control. The other thing that you can definitely control is your behavior, or how I would like to put it is like, what are you going to focus on? Because that you can choose to focus on the virus. You can choose to focus on social media. You can choose to focus on news. You can choose to focus on whatever. But you can control what you choose to focus on. So that is just like, again, if you can take control of your mind and you take control of the things that you choose to focus on, it's a choice. Then already you're in a much better space than you were before that. And then also your activities and decisions. So if you choose to focus on this, then you also have a choice whether are we going to do it or we're not going to do it. Or am I going to sit and watch Netflix and YouTube, or am I going to go and do things that must be done? And that can be for your business. It can be a hobby. It can be fixing something at your house. It can be spending time with your family. It can be sitting there writing, sharing your thoughts about what's going on, how you're feeling. And whatever those activities are that you choose to do, those are the things that's also going to help you control your mind and keep your focus. But anyway, you've got control over that. The decisions you make. If you really go and sit down and think about the decisions that you need to make, and you go through a process of saying, well, is this really good for me or is it not? Because a lot of times in life, we focus on, or we make gut decisions, and we make quick decisions, and we say yes or no, I like it or I don't like it, it's nice or it's not nice, that's cool or it's not cool. So those kind of decisions we make quickly, but maybe in these times it's a good time to learn how to make good decisions, and to go and so what are the processes that I can go through in order to say, well, which decision is really better for me, for my family, for my business, and whatever that may be. All right, let me see. Tembi Ndebele, welcome. Tembi, it's the first time I've seen you, at least in the chat, I think. She says to Kobus Klein, I agree, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Have contingencies in place for all scenarios, then there is no need to panic. I fully agree, Tembi. You'll see in a second why I fully agree. Shanganani says he's been in business for less than 5 years and it's really, really hard. Yes, it is. And it doesn't even really matter what business you're in, if you're in the early days, like we in the first 5 years of business, so trust me, it is hard. It is not easy. There's a few things happening still in my space that I'm very, very grateful for. But it's not nearly at the level that it was before all of this. So we're also stressed. We're also worried. And that's why I'm sitting in the same boat as you. I just hope and pray that we're all rowing in the same direction, and that we're rowing in rhythm with one another, because that's what this session is about. I want you to get on board. Let's row. Let's do this together, because together we can go so much further. Not sure who said that. Not me, but somebody else said that. Neil Phillips, those depending on upfront commission must be bleeding. Well done, Kobus and Francois. I'm extremely grateful for diversified streams of recurring revenue and having gone paperless and digital. Lots to be thankful for. I'm also happy to talk to any advisor who may need to just chat to someone. Yes, Neil, thank you very much for that offering there. I'm sure that people can make contact with you via LinkedIn. That'll be great. Thank you very much. I also want to still chat to you about the whole digital thing. So I will also maybe be in touch. Russell, my friend, good morning. Welcome. He says, disrupt, don't be disrupted. Use this opportunity to set your business apart from the rest. Work on your business. Yes, which I think has been the main theme of these sessions, where I'm trying to get people to think about, don't sit there and waste time. Do the little braais, do the bit of Netflix, because we need that, because you now have an opportunity to take a break, which maybe you haven't done in a long time. But then take this time to position yourself to recover. When the recovery comes, position yourself so you can take maximum benefit of that. And so we put together a guide called the 21 Things You Must Focus On Now, which you can download. So it's at francois.toy.co.za/21, the numbers 21, and then things, and you can go there and download that. It's also available on my profile on LinkedIn if you want to go and check it out. All right. So those are the things that you can control. I don't see any further comments or chats here on YouTube. So number 4, and this is the hard one. What is your worst case scenario? You must be willing to go there. You can't, we can choose, and maybe for a little while, I also chose not to go there. And particularly because I want to protect my family, I don't want to stress them out, but then my wife and I had a chat the other day to say, well, what is really like the absolute worst that can happen? Excuse me. What is the absolute worst that can happen? And if you really delve down, for us, the worst thing is that one of us gets the virus and don't make it. I mean, that is absolutely the worst case scenario. So if that is my viewpoint, then whatever happens before or anything else that happens can't be worse than that. So that means we'll be okay. The worst thing that'll happen is if I must lose one of them or something like that because of the virus. And I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But that's my worst case scenario. It is what I need to sort of think about and then say, well, what are all the things I can do to prevent that from happening, or to at least minimize to an absolute minimum the chances of that happening. And anything else that happens, I'll be okay. I'll get up again. I'll do whatever I need to do. We'll get back. It's a reset. It's fine. That's my point of view. Now, that's easy for me to say because I don't have small children in my home anymore. But, if you do, that conversation changes dramatically. I don't think you can just go like, yeah, when I lose everything, I'll be okay. We'll just get up. If you've got small children and you've got nowhere to stay or nowhere to live, it's very, very hard to explain to them exactly what's going on. And that will have an impact on their lives forever, and that can have a good effect or a bad effect, obviously. But it's hard. So it's easy to sit here and say, you know what, go to your worst case scenario. What is that? And anything else is actually then a better outcome than your worst case scenario. But you need to go and explore that for what that is for you. And you need to have that conversation with your spouse and with your family. It is so, so important. This is the time where now we need to be open and honest with one another. You need to learn how to communicate if that's something that you can't do. That's really my view around that. I think another thing that when you've got this worst case scenario, and sort of what that is, now you can also choose how you will respond to it. I first wrote down like how will you react to it. But being reactive is not good. Being reactive, it means that something else is causing you to do something. It's much better to respond to something in a positive way, because you can respond through being proactive. You can respond by taking control of your thoughts and your mind. You can take control, by what you choose to focus on. You can respond in many, many different ways in terms of that. But those are really important. So what is your worst case scenario? I mean, what is the worst that can happen? You don't have to share that in the chat. I just want you to really go and think about it. And again, go write it down. Think about it, discuss it, share with your family, and do all of that. All right. So then on to point 5. This is important. So now that we're in this position where you've panicked and you decided not to panic. Hopefully, you've identified the things that you can't control. You've identified the things that you can control. And you know what your worst case scenario is, and you know how you're going to respond to all of this. Now you sort of where you are, and there's clarity around that. My next thing that I would do is to speak to my clients. Now, I know you've been in contact with your clients. Yes, and I must say, I'm very proud of the way that advisors are stepping up on social media, particularly, to share, important information, to share ideas and sort of things, and reminding people about principles and all of those things. It's really been fantastic to see that. And for once, I'm not really seeing a lot of, people bashing one another when that happens. It's really like everybody's just trying to do the right thing. So from that point of view, it's great. But I think when I say speak to your clients, it is really to understand where they are. So everything that you've just gone through, so from point 1 right down to point 4, you should have that conversation with them. Are they panicked? Why are they feeling panicked? What is causing them that panic? How are they? And then you can take them through it. Tell them, look, you need to quiet your mind. Take them through that process and say, you just need to be a little bit more. Let's just step back from this situation. It's like, when you're on the hot coals, when you're standing there, it's burning your feet, but it's like almost like you get frozen. You don't know what to do next. It's just step off the coals for a second, and then let's take it from there. Well, you'll probably be taken to hospital, but okay. In terms of that, so we need to understand, how are they feeling? What is going through their minds? What is really keeping them up at night at the moment? Because, and I know we always ask this question when you have meetings with clients, like, what are you thinking? What is keeping you up at night? What is important to you? Guys, this is the time that we now need to mean those questions, and that we really need to listen to what the client is saying. Because I think for the first time in a long time, people are a lot more in tune with what they're feeling and what they're thinking and what's dominating their thoughts at this point in time. So this is a fantastic time. And you won't necessarily be able to get to all your clients. But if you go through your clients, have a strategy of which clients are you going to contact first, then the others. And maybe you can contact people in different ways. You don't have to phone all of them. Choose the clients that you're going to phone. Choose the clients that you're going to maybe contact via a WhatsApp message or a direct email. Even if it takes you a little bit long to write those emails, do that. Show that you care, show that you're there for them, remind them that you are there for them. It's so, so important to do that. And then, once what they feel and what keeps them up at night, you can ask them, do you have a plan? What are you going to do? How are you choosing to respond to all of this? Again, everything I just took you through, you can do exactly the same with them. So that's why it's so important to start with yourself. You need to put on your own mask first. That's what they teach us when you get on a plane. They say if something goes wrong, which it would never go wrong, just first put on your own mask and then help the person next to you to put on their mask if they're not getting their own mask on. So you've got to make sure that you're okay before you will be able to move on. Alrighty, so that's it. Let me see if there's more in the chats. Jen Mackay, I can't remember now. Jen from LinkTank, thank you very much. Great discussion, Francois. I'd be really interested to know from this community whether there are habits adopted during this time of crisis that will remain as lasting changes in financial planning practices in South Africa. More online meetings, greater tech adoption, greater work-life balance, more freedom for staff to work remotely. Yes, these are the questions that we're all asking. And in fact, when I get to point 7, I also want to ask some of these questions. So they're great questions, Jen. So yeah, guys, you're welcome to answer, Jen, in the chats. So yeah, so let me see what is cooking here on YouTube. Yes, yeah. Ian also commented. He said, "Always plan for the worst, and if that doesn't happen, it's a pleasant surprise." It's like, have you ever had a client who complained because they had too much money in retirement, because they made too much provision? No, that'll never happen. They all complain because they don't have enough. Yet we just never learn that lesson. Alrighty, so before I get into number 6. I've got a couple of questions and things that I want to ask. The first thing is that I saw on LinkedIn yesterday, and then I also had a discussion with Jen, that LinkTank is offering free support to financial advisors during this time. So not forever, but during this time, which is fantastic. They're also stepping up and saying we will give free support to you in terms of technology and systems and those kind of things. So you are able to contact them. There's some details on the screen. So if you need any help, in terms of your technology and things that you're battling with, setting up, if you want to set up virtual environments in which you can have meetings, if you do, whatever you need in terms of technology, basically. I'm not going to go into the points, but whatever you need in terms of technology, if you need guidance or help, they are available for you, and you can email them. You can go to their contact them through their website, which is support.linktank.co.za. You can call them on the 087 number, or you can email them at support@linktank.co.za for that. So for as long as this crisis is going, I guess, but they'll be able to tell you better. You can also then get free support from them. So I think well done, LinkTank, for stepping up and helping. And it's not always for me about doing things for free. It's also about, just being there for people and being able to help them, hold their hand, be their voice of reason, and just make things simpler and easier for them. So sometimes don't expect to get everything for free during this time. It's not going to happen. I still need to pay my Microsoft licenses and my internet and all my stuff. So that's the one thing that we also need to be very careful of. Because a lot of people are doing things for free. We're doing a lot of things for free for certain. But we must also be in that mindset, because once we go there, your client is going to go there. And once they go there, it's going to be very hard to do business during this time. So as much as people are saying it's business as usual, I would like to say it's business as unusual, because things have definitely shifted and changed for now. Then another question I maybe want to ask, and this is also something I don't want you to answer me in the chats. I want you to contact me directly for this, please. So you can WhatsApp me if you're on my WhatsApp list. You can WhatsApp me, or you can email me. My email is just info@francoisdetoy.co.za. I want to know. I'm quite interested to learn the FSP that you work with. And I'm not talking to the independent guy just with his own FSP. I'm talking to people working for product providers. I'm also, so people who are with product providers as advisors, and then people that work for large practices, so large FSPs. I'm quite keen to know what are they doing during this time to support their financial advisors. If you can let me know, I'm very, very keen to find out what they're doing. What is their approach? Is it a very supportive approach? Is it not so supportive, for example? So I'm just keen to know. I'm not going to use your name. I'm just there. I just want the information to sort of see what is going on and what they're doing. Because then also as part of that, while you're busy writing me an email or a WhatsApp or sending me a voice note or whatever, just tell me, what do you need? Where are you at this point in time? Send me that so we can look at it, because I can then build it into the sessions that we're doing, so I can offer you more help and we can give you more things that will get you through this time, and will give you the fuel and the power and the energy and the list, to keep fighting and to do well at this point. All right, cool stuff. So then number 6, you need to regroup and strategize. Because why? Well, one, you know where you are. You've taken control of the things that you can control. You are now ignoring the things that you cannot control, because those things are energy thieves. They also take your focus away. It's bad. It's like a magnet that's pulling things to, like, no, that's not what we want. So you would want to focus very little. Actually, I would say you don't want to focus on it at all. But, if there's going to be a worry in the back of your mind, what's the latest news, what's this, then keep doing that. It's fine. But be very, very mindful of the impact that has got on you and your business. So if you can then focus on the things that you can control, you know exactly what your worst case scenario is, and you now have spoken to your client. So you know where they are, what they want, what they need. That must put you into a position of being able to re-strategize and do things that will help your clients and offer services and focus on specific sort of advice channels, if you will, or advice areas that is more pertinent on people's minds at the moment. So that would be for me the process. If you really think that you need to change course, that you need to throw your plan out the window or adjust your plan at the very least, then that is sort of the process that I would go through. And if I do that, what would I want to know? I would definitely want to know, like, where are the opportunities? When I'm regrouping and strategizing, I need to go and look for opportunities. Now, I've spoken about this before, about RAS, RAS, your reticular activation system. And I always use the simple example that everybody knows is that, once you decide that you want to buy a particular car, let's say you want to buy the latest Audi A4, then you see them everywhere. It's just like, why? Because your mind is so focused on an Audi A4, because that's what you want. That is what you're going to buy. And suddenly, where you like, there's none of them on the route, suddenly they are everywhere. And that's what your reticular activation system does. If you decide that you want to focus or you want to look for opportunities, guess what? You're going to see opportunities. And it's not to say that if you're used to doing these, like, you worked on massive opportunities, that is this one deal, it's a big deal, so you only do like 3 deals a month, but it's huge in volume. That may not be the case. So you must also be willing to now do other kinds of business during this time, because the opportunity may be with something else that's a lot smaller than that. But by being active, by being busy, by doing the right things, adding value and helping, and then doing some deals in the meantime is going to stand you in good fast. So I think that's really the way to go. And also then, should you be repositioning your entire business? And when we get to point 7, I'm going to talk a lot more about that. But should you be looking at repositioning your business in order to capitalize on those opportunities? Or are you already in the right position to capitalize on those? Because you need to move quickly. I mean, if there's one thing that this time has shown us, is what government is actually capable of doing. So I want to ask, why the hell is everything taking so long always? Because there's not enough willpower to get things done quickly. Now that the pawpaw is hitting the fan, now suddenly we can act and we can do the right things and we can do it quickly. Just shows you, when you have to, you can. The same with you. If you have to, you can. And then you must decide, like, do I just stay the course? Am I already doing whatever I'm doing and my clients is okay and all of those kind of things? So I just keep on as normal. I don't know. I think if there's anybody that'll just continue as per normal, it'll be on the 0.1% of the financial advisor population and their clients. I definitely don't think that would be the norm. All right. So let me see if there's some more questions. Yeah, Neil says a webinar with Francois and Jen would be great. Yes, I've also been pondering that. I recently introduced Jen to someone for a podcast interview, and I was also thinking I was maybe get Jen on here. So I will definitely chat to her. Jen, let me know if you're open to that. Quoba says, Francois, we had the discussion before. Instead of the words for free, I like the words to use the words complimentary or gift. Yes, as soon as you use the word for free, you make your brand cheap, and people do not believe anything comes for free, even if your intent is as pure. I mean this with the utmost respect. Yes, that is true, Quoba. And it's amazing the kind of response you get to the different words. It is like, that people are more attracted to free. So when they see free, it's like, it's not going to cost me anything. But you go to the complimentary or the gift side, and I actually like the gift thing more, because it feels to me like people are not getting the compliment. I've used that word since we've had that discussion, and I'm not getting the same sort of response as you would with other things. I think gift is a more powerful response, because that is for free, but it's something that's of more value, because when something's for free, it has this much value, absolutely nothing. So I definitely agree with the gift thing. And also I think it's a way of, if people go for it, if it's complimentary or a gift, those are maybe more than maybe in the ideal client space that we spoke about yesterday. So I fully agree with everything you said there. It's a good reminder again. Jen says she's keen. I'm keen, Jen. So we will organize. I shall speak to you. So once you've regrouped and strategized, I guess the question then becomes, what happens after this? Once all of this is settled and it's all done, and we go back to the new normal, whatever that may be, I don't know. What is that going to look like? Do you go back to your old way of work? Is that, do we expect, this again comes back to expectations. So are you expecting for things to go back to the way they were? In other words, you go to your office every day, you'll see your clients at your office, or you see your clients at Mug and Bean, wherever that may be. Do you expect things to go back? Where are you at the moment? I would like you to answer this question for me in the chats. What do you think? Are you going back there? Is that how things will go back to normal? What's going to happen? Are you now, in this time that we're being forced to work from home and work over the internet and do these virtual meetings, etc., are you considering which of these or which aspects of this way of work may be a great addition to what it is that you do? So maybe you go back to work and you have a blend of what you did before and what you're doing now. Maybe you decide like, wow, man, this is awesome. I can sit in my underpants and do a meeting. It's fantastic. I have coffee and tea and whatever I've got. I don't have to travel. I'm saving a lot of time. I can see 2 more clients a day this way. So I only want to work this way going forward. The other question obviously would be is, what about your clients? And that's when speaking to your clients is actually, you can't talk to them about it now, but once we go back to the new normal and whatever that may be, is to then talk to them and say, but now you've experienced both. Which one do you actually prefer? Because that's what we should do. We should be asking our clients, what is it that they want? And then we should put an offering together that speaks to that. So now 30% of my clients love the online thing. Imagine you can see 30% of your clients online. You don't have to drive there, nothing. It's here. How much time are you going to save? What other things can you implement? What other things can you work on when you have that much more time? And those are the things that we need to start thinking about these things now already, And then I think the big lesson is like this thing came, I said to my wife last night, when 2020 started, I was positive. I was full of hope. I was positioned correctly. My brand is starting to get built and be recognized, slowly but surely. Still a long way off, but, we're making good progress. And I felt like This year, I'm hitting the ground running at speed, at my weight, and at my however big I am. It's like, I'm running, brother. I'm running. But then this thing happened. And I mean, I never look at the markets. I never look at any of these things to influence me of what's going on, but this thing I didn't foresee. And this came out of the blue for me. It sort of tripped me and I fell over my own feet. I rolled for about 50 kilometers before I got to a stop. So that's what happened. And now the question becomes is like, so after this, what are we going to do to not be in this position again when something like this happens? Because, things went so well for so many years, really, if you think about it, that the only things we really prepared for was, is there going to be a market crash? Things that we see in movies are now coming true. So we need to be more aware, and we need to have better plans. When the FSCA asks you for your disaster recovery plan, suddenly now this thing means something. And we need to really think about these things and work on them and say, what is in our business, what is the worst case scenario? And then we need to plan for that. Even if that never happens, you have a plan. It means that you can pull that thing off the shelf or out of your computer, dust it off and say, we've got a plan. So this is something, and maybe you need to do some small tweaks, but that's really what one could do. All right. Russell says, I think this pandemic will actually make us more efficient and realize we can be more productive using technology in our business. Absolutely. And you know what the interesting thing is, I had a conversation with someone yesterday where, because they've rolled out Microsoft Teams at scale for people in their business, for advisors to use with their clients and that. And what happened is that people that they thought would never, ever touch technology is touching technology. And that is it. Necessity is the mother of invention. That's what I'm saying. If the pain of not changing is not greater than the pain of changing, people won't change. I'll say that again. If the pain of change is not greater than the pain of not changing, well, it's the other way around now. Let's try that again. If the pain of not changing, if the pain of not changing is not greater than the pain of changing, people won't change. So what that means is that, you'll suffer more pain when you don't change than the pain that you were going to suffer when you do change. That makes sense, right? Then people will move. Then they move. Suddenly everybody is moving. So this is the positive things that are coming out of everything that's going on at the moment, and we're being forced. And it's so fantastic. And for the first time, people are just, it feels to me and it looks to me like everybody's sort of pulling in the right or in the same direction. I was amazed yesterday to hear on the news about, I don't know how many groups have now gone to court and saying it's unconstitutional to do a lockdown. And what are you? Yeah, let's not go into politics. I just don't think there are still people who think that this thing is fake, that this thing is not real, that this is not going to be, because they believe that, we've always found a cure, we've always had a vaccine, we are always able to rise from this. But we don't know. Until we have that, we don't know. So rather be safe than sorry. Bang Jan as dooie Jan, we say in Afrikaans. Russell says, like many other advisors and practices I know have unfortunately shut down for the lockdown period because they haven't adapted or adopted technology into their business. They're being disrupted. The plus side of this is without the COVID-19, it might have taken businesses and the advisory industry longer to adapt to technology and catch up with the first world countries. Somebody said the other day, I think it was my conversation with Razan, which was an offline conversation. She said to me, she think we caught up like 2 years of being behind just in like that because of COVID-19. And on that note, I am very excited to announce tomorrow's guest. Let me just see. So yeah, I haven't got the picture on here, but tomorrow, and maybe I can put it on quickly if you don't mind. So tomorrow, what we are going to do is I've got Barry van Zyl being a guest. Barry is the head of account management at Iris. And we're going to be talking about, exactly this, adopting technology and how businesses should go about adopting technology and the sort of approach to that would maybe be a good idea. And it doesn't matter what size it is. You think you hear the name Iris, it's for big businesses. It's those. No. We're going to talk about from the one-man show to the one-man show with a PA to the biggest businesses in South Africa and around the world. Like, what is our view on how you should be approaching this, when you start to implement technology? Because here's the thing, you can't, if you haven't really used technology in the past, now jump in and say, I want everything, and then you will drown. So there needs to be a approach, and we're going to talk about that. So I'm very excited for that. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. So that'll be, what is that, Wednesday, the 1st of April. No jokes. No, there's no April's Fool this year. So I'm going to have Barry here tomorrow from 8 until 8:30. So he's with me for half an hour, and we will basically discuss that from that point of view. Are there any more questions? Any more comments? I see nothing at this point on LinkedIn. Is there anybody on YouTube that would like to ask or mention anything? This is Barry, so I can introduce you to Barry. So Barry van Zyl. As I said, we'll be talking adopting technology, and I really look forward to this discussion with Barry. It's really he's a great guy, and with lots of experience now in this space, and we're really looking forward to spending some time with you tomorrow. And on that note, I want to say thank you very much for joining me this morning. I really, really appreciate it. You're very special to me. And I'm going to play out with our theme song. And I'll see you back tomorrow, same place, same time. Cheers.